Hi, welcome. Welcome to this third in a series of 6 videos. These videos are focused on individuals, people who are creating value in their strategically important relationships. Our purpose is to help you get to simplicity on the other side of complexity, and from that place, create even more value. From the other side of complexity, simplicity enables us to focus attention and activities on creating value, thus establishing a sustainable collaborative advantage. In the interest of time, I will be as brief as possible when introducing you to each slide. That said, my slides can be thought-provoking, so I suspect you will want to spend time with them. Please go to the URL at the bottom of this slide and get the full set. That includes useful backup slides too. On this page, the title of each of the 6 modules and the introduction will be linked to its individual video. Time durations for each video will also be listed. Please take notes as you view the video and spend time with the slides. Capture your insights, questions, and points of disagreement. Later, we can enter dialogue and see where that takes us. The role of strategic relationship manager is like no other job in the world of business. This makes their personal identity critically important. Identity ends up shaping attitude and mindset, the most important success-causing personal attribute. And given how unique the SRM role is, having a self-directed career development plan is important. And that's also covered in this module. Given an SRM is about creating value, it is helpful to understand the is-nots and the is's of the role. The is-not column illustrates value-limiting traps that an SRM can all too easily fall into, especially when they're new to the job. The is column summarizes an SRM's aspirations. If an SRM comes from a more traditional area of business, and if they are unwilling or unable to expand their personal identity, they will end up limiting the alliance's ability to create value. This limitation may not be apparent to either the SRM or to others, but it will be there. There are 3 different axes or dimensions along which an SRM's identity needs to expand. They are time, value, and space. Time. They need to adopt a very long-term, even a timeless perspective. Value. They need to focus on both the tangible and, more importantly, the intangible forms of value. Because as we saw in the prior module, it is the intangibles that drive the tangible results. And finally, space. They need to not be limited by any organizational boundary. They need to go wherever it is needed to find and create value. And please note that I put the account manager role at the origin, not as any kind of judgment, but only for comparison's sake. In the prior slide, the role of CEO was shown as the one closest to that of an SRM. It can be argued that an SRM is like a mini CEO running a business that exists in the overlap of two other businesses. However, there are very subtle and very significant differences. The conclusion cell in this slide summarizes the value-limiting pitfalls we can easily fall into when we attempt to equate the role of an SRM with that of a CEO. Many businesses expect an SRM to be a negotiator, and that they are. They're always having important conversations. However, given their alliance is about the long-term creation of value, even formal negotiations have to be redefined. In order to determine the right value-creating teaming scenario that best addresses each company's objectives and interests, there has to be openness, trust, and transparency, not the hard-nosed, transactionally focused getting and winning that many people might imagine. The idea of relationship itself is central to an SRM's most effective negotiating processes. Creative ideas emerge out of relationship. The SRM should feel comfortable staying in between, in the relationship that lives in between companies, between negotiating positions, between each side's business objectives, underlying interests, and strategies. Finally, an SRM needs to be patient and persistent, staying in the between until the most creative option emerges out of relationship, the best option that exceeds mere win-win results. An SRM has to be about change. If they are not about changing the alliance or changing the business, what are they doing? What are they there for? Derived from a powerful book by a distinguished MBA professor at the University of Michigan, this table illustrates 4 modes of change: fact-based, authority-based, relationship-based, and transformational. These modes by themselves or in combination with another mode can be helpful in 8 different situations shown in the outer band of the table. An SRM needs to be observant enough to notice the presence of a specific situation in their alliance. And they need to be comfortable working in any of these 4 modes of change. In the first module, we referred to the attributes of the creator as they relate to the creative power that lives in a collective web of relationship. Those attributes, again, were omnipotence, being all-powerful; omnipresence, being everywhere present; omniscience, being all-knowing; and omnibenevolent, being all good. Now we're going to explore 2 different ways that we can embody or manifest these same 4 attributes. This is being done as a means of introducing what I think is the most empowering practice an SRM can embody. That practice is called self-obsolescence. Sometimes it's called service-based leadership. When we lose sight of our identity as a creator of value, when we forget that we are part of a powerful, value-creating team, when we think we have to make things happen based on our own personal willpower, we can fall into a vicious cycle that severely limits any value that might come out of an alliance. We end up trying to force things to happen by making demands, which alienates people. We hoard information because it is of power, right? This hinders the flow of creative ideas. Any goodness we do is done as part of a series of transactions. The relationship itself is not bettered. We're focused on getting rather than creating, and on winning rather than collaborating. Now we consider obsoleting our lesser self, sometimes referred to as the egoic self. This is the self that was in charge in the prior slide. This is the dark part of our identity, the part that feels all alone, like the universe is conspiring against it, and it needs to fight for everything. I actually practiced self-obsolescence when establishing the strategic alliance between Hewlett-Packard and SAP, discussed further in the 5th video. This practice literally empowered me to be able to accomplish the impossible. My focus was about giving away my best ideas and wisdom via just-in-time and just enough training in appropriate circumstances. By giving away something of value, the receiver is compelled to give back something of value. Knowledge grows. Being of value is easier. Others empowered me as I empowered them. I was proactively included in all of the important meetings and communications. A virtuous cycle happened, such that my informal power and virtual presence grew to exceed that of a senior vice president at HP. Again, stay tuned to the 5th video for more details. In a very real way, this series of videos is about me practicing self-obsolescence on a larger scale. So far, we've discussed specifics about the role of strategic relationship manager. Now, on this slide, we're going to get general. We're going to generalize this discussion just a bit. Then we will get back to specifics in the following slides. There are 3 factors or attributes that lead to personal success. The first is knowledge, what most people focus on in terms of hiring or education. Knowledge is the easiest to change, and it's actually the least important. Next is skills, harder to assess and harder to change, but more important than knowledge. And finally, most important, is attitude and mindset. By far and away, the most important attribute, and the hardest to change, the hardest to assess. However, SRMs are used to focusing on the challenging issues that provide high payoff, such as our willingness to focus on attitude and mindset. At first glance, this slide seems to be complex, and, well, it is. In the next slide, we will get to simplicity on the other side of this slide's complexity. What we are doing here is anding together alliance success factors for Module 2 with personal success factors from the previous slide. The result defines a clear set of foci for an SRM. Their top priority is the center red cell. It is to change attitude and mindset in order to deepen relationship. There is nothing more important in terms of their ability to create greater value in their strategic alliance on an ongoing basis. They have two sets of secondary foci. Number one, relationship-ize the people who are working in the alliance by sharing with them important skills and knowledge, the brown boxes. The second foci is alliance-ize the work products done by people who are supporting the alliance by helping them understand and appreciate the nuances of strategically important relationships, the gray boxes. The resulting 3x3 table can be used by the SRM in order to have a self-directed career development plan. This is appropriate given how extraordinarily unique their role is. First, they can use a blank table to reflect upon what is needed for success. They can then talk with their manager and then members of their alliance team to hear their perspectives. The result will provide great clarity about the specifics they need to work on. Specifics that are unique to them individually, and specifics that are unique to their individual alliance. Note that the required process of listening to others and distilling down what has been heard down to its simplest essence is similar to the processes in the two-slide methodology discussed in the next video. Here we're applying that to the SRM's personal development plan. This slide does simplify the previous slide. It provides a target. The bullseye is changing attitude and mindset in order to deepen relationship. Surrounding that bullseye is relationship-ize the people and alliance-ize their work products. Activities in the outside area, despite being attractive and fun, should ideally be done by others. Those individuals will be enabled by the content that will get created in the two-slide methodology process, again, discussed in the following module. This slide captures many of the things about a strategic relationship manager. The best description I have come up with is that SRMs do the impossible with nothing in the eye of a hurricane. By doing the impossible, I mean they get fiercely competitive companies to collaborate in the predominantly scarcity-oriented and fear-based world of business. All of these things, competitiveness, fear, and scarcity, hamper the partners' ability to collaborate. It makes it impossible for them to create value together. With nothing means they generally lack direct access to the necessary power, budgets, and people to enable them to accomplish the impossible. It may not be nothing, but it's pretty close to that when considering the impossibilities they face. Finally, in the eye of the hurricane or typhoon, they are surrounded by a nearly limitless array of complexities, like strategies, technologies, organizations, legal and financial issues, regulatory issues, to name just a few. An additional complexity comes in the form of dysfunctional drama, evidenced by low levels of trust and caused by undealt with divergent corporate cultures. Yet another complexity. But for some reason, SRMs are really attracted to this kind of work. We love the satisfaction that comes from accomplishing the impossible. And as a final slide, it's important to note that successful SRMs do live a life of bliss. They do their job well. They love their work. It is what the world around them needs. And it is what the world increasingly values, especially as businesses realize more and more that relationship itself is actually their most strategically important asset. So as a recap, we've talked about the importance of personal identity, what that is, how impactful it is in the alliance for personal success. We've redefined some traditional activities like negotiating and being an agent of change. We've talked about the really bold and maybe reckless practice of self-obsolescence. And we've talked about the need to be self-directed in terms of a career development plan. So thank you for your time and for your interest. I'll look forward to our follow-on dialogue about the ideas in the videos and the associated slides. I'd love to hear your insights, questions, or points of disagreement. Again, let's see where deep dialogue takes us. Again, thank you for your time.